Cage. Go, cage. Matriarchs Rising. Matriarchs Rising. Okay. Matriarchs Rising. Okay. Matriarchs Rising. Okay, I gotta get this live out. I gotta take my time with this. I'll try to put it in video, and the video could only be so long. So I gotta take my time with this. I gotta break down some of this context, some of this literary. I took my time to highlight these slides, and we about to get into it. The ancient Nile Valley encompassing Nubia, Kerma, and Kush, all names of matriarchs, all names of civilizations of black women that was erased out of history because they left maps to the firmament. All the gender wars was because women was leaving maps for a way out of patriarchy off of the six continents. This is what prompted the gender wars. And this literary is literally about to explain this to y'all. This is all about our maps, y'all. This is all about our Nubian black women leaving maps. That's what this is all about. Like how I was just showing that goddess temple with the map in the background. That's what this is all about. The patriarchs never wanted us to find out about these maps because they wanted us to stay up under their thumbnail being ruled by them. They wanted us to stay being ruled over by men. So this is all about our Nubian mothers' maps. Countless societies, countless cultures, and we're gonna cover all of these cultures. Countless civilizations of women, black women, left map cartography. They left maps for us for a way out of patriarchy. So this is what prompted the gender wars. Men was trying to hide the maps to the firmament. Men did not want us to know how to get off these six continents. That's what this is all about. So, Kerma, Kush, and even Egypt was originally rooted in a profound matriarchal structure where the divine feminine, embodied by the Kadaki Candace and goddesses like Isis, Aset, and Nut, held paramount authority over spiritual and natural law. This era honored the magnetic understanding of life, acknowledging that the earth itself, a magnetic entity, collaborated with human, animal, and stellar energies rather than dominating them. This spiritual warfare, initiated by the rise of patriarchy, was not merely a change in leadership, but an international erasure of this original matriarchal knowledge, keeping the understanding of magnetics and natural harmony away from the people, replacing it a top-down authoritarian rule. The Kadakis, please get familiar with the Kadakis if y'all not familiar with the Kadakis, also called the Candaces of Nubia. The Kadakis, or warrior queens of Meroe, Meroe is also Nubia, were the primary targets of this shift, as they represented the last vestiges of a system where power and approval stemmed from the feminine, who held the keys to both spiritual and material well being. All right, I'm gonna change the shift before I start that next slide. Why did it do that? Mm, I don't think that's the next slide. What they did was they jobbled they jobbled my sequence. I wonder why would they do that. 1 second. Hmm. This shift was marked by the systematic silencing of the I can't read some sentences because of the icons and the badgers in the way. Hopefully y'all can see that. I always post afterwards so y'all be able to read for what it is. I can't see that at all. Sorry about that. I have to go all the way down to natural magnetic resonance of the earth. The magnetic stones and sacred sites, once central to sustaining the community's vitality, were either destroyed or suppressed by the rising patriarchal order, which demanded that the land be conquered and its energy controlled rather than revered. The original matriarchal foundation. In the early periods of TaSeti and Kerma, the society was structured around the mother right, where lineage and leadership passed through the maternal line. The supreme rulers was often a goddess queen whose authority was absolute and considered a direct manifestation of the divine, as shown in early Nubian artifacts. Now, that means a great deal when they say that whose authority was absolute and considered a direct manifestation of the divine. These women this explicitly highlighted, these Nubian women explicitly highlighted that they was the direct manifestation of the divine, meaning that they were the direct manifestation of God, meaning that women are God. Number two, the Kadakis, the magnetic rulers. The Kadakis were not merely queens, but powerful warriors and spiritual leaders who maintained the balance of the realm. Their authority over the magnetic forces was integral to the society's prosperity, often symbolized by their connection to the nurturing and protective aspects of the Nile Valley and the earth. So before I change to the next slide, I just want to say something real fast. I'm gonna be short. Was integral to the society's prosperity, often symbolized by their connection to the nurturing and protective aspects of the now and the earth. Women, if y'all gonna carry on this crown and this title as God, then y'all have a role, duty, and an obligation to carry on the society's prosperity through the connection of the nurturing and protective aspects of the earth. That's all I want to say. Okay, let's go. Um, wow. Okay, I see what they doing. They is throwing the sequence off. I wonder why is they doing that. Wow. The sequence was in sequence, and every time I open it up, wow. Okay, the shield of the matriarchs. The Candace was often depicted in Meroic art as a warrior. She is seen smiting the enemies of the state, holding them by their hair while wielding a sword. One woman was seen holding the heads of several men in every single culture, especially the Indian culture. I think the Indian culture is my favorite with the goddess Kali and Durga because it's explicitly highlighted that in the combat of war, 20 men couldn't defeat one woman. So when the goddess said earlier, we need you here to protect us, that's only in the aspects of you sleeping beauty right now. What you made me for was a reminder. What you made me for was as a divine creation to worship you. That's what you made me for, as a divine creation to worship you. And we lost sight of that. Men lost sight of that. But I'm here to give that lens back. Okay. This is the protective mother. That's what I was telling the goddess archetype. The attack on her legacy is the historical sanitization of this power, turning a fierce protector into a passive name and a lineage. The spiritual waters of the Kushite tradition were the primeval foundations of existence. The Kadaki was the vessel for these waters. In the Meroic script, which remains largely undeciphered by Westerners, her title suggests she is one who gave breath to people. To ignore her spiritual primacy is to attack the foundation of Kushite life. So, when it's saying that the Meroic script is largely undeciphered, it is largely undeciphered and it's still undeciphered. And I was only able to pull this literary that I'm sharing with you through the Meroic script. You won't get this context or breakdown through patriarchy. And if we just Google, if we just jump in our search bar and we type in something that we want to know, and we don't put it behind that according to the matriarchs or according to the Kadakis, according to TaSeti, Nubia. If we don't put according to the matriarchs and name the in particular matriarchs, then the information that we trying to pull and look for is gonna give us a patriarchal definition. And it's definitely gonna have patriarchal rebrand words like myth, mystery, death, consciousness, man. It's definitely gonna have patriarchal rebrand words waiting for you. So this is why we really don't know much when it comes to history and religion, because when we research something, we researching and we giving the research from patriarchal men to have patriarchal lenses. So when we research people, we have to only research according to the Great Mother, according to the Nubians, according to the Kadakis, TaSeti, Meroe, Kerma, Kush. We have to get familiar with our matriarchs, and you will see that during each paragraph, the matriarchs will be highlighted. So when you see a name like Meroe, write that down. Kerma, Kush, TaSeti, write that down. Is letting you know who said this. So therefore, this not women make heaven saying this. This is your ancestors saying this. See what I'm saying? So let's get familiar with our Nubian Kadakis, please and thank you. Okay. I don't know why these slides is so shuffled now, but we gonna get through it, people. I promise. Okay. To understand the attack against the Kadaki, the royal mother of Kush, within the context of the biblical narrative, specifically Acts 8:27, one must look through the lens of Kushite matriarchy and Meroic spiritual sovereignty. That's what I was just saying to you. And the Meroic and TaSeti, please write those names down. I should have highlighted TaSeti. I slipped. Apologies. In the Meroic and TaSeti traditions, the Kadaki was not merely a political figure, she was the earthly manifestation of the divine mother, holding the spiritual protection of the Nile Valley. So when they say TaSeti, TaSeti is the oldest civilization known, but yet it's erased out of history. When we went to school, they didn't tell us about TaSeti. They put a globe in our face and they taught us about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great warred against these women and lost. And we're going to get into that. Augustus Caesar, anybody that they told us was a great figure in history, he warred against these same women that we reading about. Alexander the Great lost horrendously. The sovereign essence of the Kadaki. The Kadaki represented the biological and spiritual continuity of the TaSeti land. In Kushite cosmology, the throne was passed through the female line. The king ruled, but his legitimacy was derived entirely from the queen mother. This was not a theory, but a biological and cosmological law rooted in the observation of the cosmos. So whenever a man was appointed or anointed king, he had to get that coordination, that approval, that through the woman and the woman only. If the woman didn't approve that, then the man was never anointed or appointed king. This is what prompted the gender wars also. Men no longer wanted to go through women to be anointed or appointed king. So therefore, men start warring against women. Um, Let me see if that's in sequence because it looked like my sequence is off. So just 1 second. I don't know why my sequence would be off. Okay. I have to start at biblical defense and counterattack. I have to let y'all read that up there because I can't see. Divine authority. The Bible also portrays God as a protector of women, with instances of divine intervention to protect them from such attacks. The armor of God, Christianity theology emphasizes that believers can fight back against these spiritual attacks through prayer. Okay, this is definitely not what the hell I am looking for. And why would that be like that? Mm. Okay. Aside the firmament, the civilization of the Kushites flourished in a state of suspended grace. The archetype itself, the step pyramids, and vast temples served as anchor points for the grid, pinning the celestial energy to the terrestrial plane. The vibration here was one of absolute clarity, where telepathy and intuition were as common as speech. The Kadakis ruled, but not by force, but by the maintenance of this harmonic frequency. Their primary duty was the keeping of the sky, ensuring that the connection between the above and the below remained unbroken. In this protected space, the arts, sciences, and astronomies reached zeniths that the outer world could scarcely comprehend. It was a realm where the masculine and feminine principles were in perfect harmony, held in the embrace of the Great Mother. Okay. The concept of a metaphysical attack against the goddess or woman in the Bible is viewed through multiple lenses, ranging from theological interpretations of spiritual warfare targeting women's roles to historical critical analysis of the suppression of ancient goddess worship, spiritual warfare, and metaphysical attacks on women. The gatekeeper target in many Christian interpretations, women are viewed as gatekeepers of the family and spiritual lineage, making them and specifically the minds and souls primary targets for demonic influence. The Garden of Eden shift. The original metaphysical attack is often identified in Genesis 3, where Satan tempted Eve to take the lead, reversing the intended order of leadership and causing, in this view, spiritual chaos. So we can see a bit of justifications there. Um, I'm trying to get to the juicy stuff. Oh man, why is this so out of sequence when I put it in sequence? Mm. The energy field was sustained by the continuous of the priestesses to maintain the per ankh. Okay, this ensured that the firmament never decayed, for it was built not of matter but of the eternal principles that govern the motion of the stars. Within this energetic circumference, the laws of time seemed to dilate. The frantic pace of the exterior world slowed to the rhythmic pulse of the Nile, allowing the deep contemplation and the cultivation of the higher faculties. It was a bubble of Zep Tempe, the first time preserved amidst the rolling tides of history. The Zep Tempe, this is the happy valley. This is when women was overseeing the earth, and we had a valley called the Happy Valley, and people was just so damn happy and joyful, and because women was overseeing the earth with even balance for all. Um, the key, the activated heart, the only pass key through this magnetic veil, talking about the firmament, was the activated heart. And the ancient science, the heart was not merely a pump, but the seat of the intelligence. and the generator of the body's strongest magnetic field. Let me see if I can find this because everything is out of sequence. And I apologize. I sequenced this before I came here, and now it's all out of sequence. The nature of the magnetic firmament. The shield they erected was not a wall of stone nor a fence of iron, but a frequency envelope. It functioned much like the magnetosphere of a planet, deflecting the solar winds of turmoil while allowing the gentle rays of illumination to pass through. It was a selective membrane, intelligent and alive, capable of distinguishing between a visitor carrying the resonance of peace and an intruder harboring the vibration of unrest. And the uninitiated, the realm within might appear open and accessible, yet they will find themselves unable to perceive the true path, forever wandering the periphery. The firmament acted as a mirror, reflecting the inner state of the approaching soul back upon itself. If the travelers carrying heaviness or malice, they would encounter only their own internal storm, effectively barring their own entry. So this is why it's also to have important to have love in the heart. This is very, very important to have love in the heart because love is the access code. Love is the frequency. They caught up on the essence of the great mother, who is the great mother all over the world. Star-studded expands to descend and knit her celestial body with the terrestrial realm. This was not a petition of fear, but a command of sovereign will, utilizing the royal ka to magnetize the atmosphere. The air itself began to shimmer, not with heat, but with high frequency vibration that signaled the descent of the Neteru, the cosmic forces of order and light. The matriarchs understood that true safety lay not in isolation, but in vibrational elevation. They focused their collective intention, the side, the divine intent, divine perception, into a singular point of focus, a lens of pure spiritual power. This focus acted as a loom, weaving threads of magnetic light into a coherent field that surrounded their civilization, and visible to the eye, but impenetrable to any one discord of frequency. I'm sorry, but impenetrable to any discord frequency. As the chant deepened, the gold of Nubia buried deep within the bedrock began to resonate in symphony with their voices. The precious metal, a superconductor of spiritual energy, amplified the matriarchal transmission, grounding the sky force into the very geology of the kingdom. The land became a living battery charged with the protective intent of its queens. So let me scroll down here. The restoration of sovereignty. In the ancient worldview of the Nile Valley, the kingdom of Kush was not simply a political state, but a concentrated vessel holding the divine principle of Mayat, truth, balance, and cosmic order. The orders of the kingdom function as the physical manifestations of the firmament, a spiritual barrier that separated the sacred interior from the chaotic, uncreated potential of the exterior world, meaning patriarchy. When the Roman legions under Gaius Petronius advanced southward, it was perceived not only as a territorial aggression, but as a metaphysical breach. Queen of Mineralists, please get familiar with her, as the living image of the divine, bore the sacred duty to repair this rupture and expel the agents of disorder to preserve the sanctity of the queendom. We see you, Queen of Mineralists, the restoration of sovereignty. In the ancient worldview of the Nile Valley, the kingdom of Kush was not simply a political state, but a concentrated vessel holding the divine principle of Mayat. Okay, we just read that. Okay, sanctity of the queendom down at the bottom right here. The conflict that ensured from 27 to 22 BC was waged on both the physical and spiritual planes. A mineralist invoked the power of Apadama, the lion-headed warrior deity of the south, whose fierce nature represented the violent protective aspect of the divine necessary to destroy chaos. The battles of Syene and Elephantine were ritual acts of purification intended to drive the impurity of foreign domination back across the northern horizon. The Kadaki's leadership was the animating force of this resistance. So when it's saying that she brought about this energy, this lion energy, this fierce lion energy, that's the fierce lion energy of war. When you see woman in the combat of war, she had to take on this energy to go into that war combat, that war state. Um A pivotal moment in this sacred narrative occurred when the capture of the bronze head of Augustus. By severing the head of the Roman emperor's statue and burying it beneath the threshold of the temple in Meroe, a mineralist performed a powerful ritual of binding. This act symbolically grounded the chaotic energy of Rome, placing it eternally under the feet of the Kushite faithful. It was a magical sealing of the earth, ensuring that the symbol of external authority was rendered impotent and subservient to the spiritual hierarchy of Kush. Say that then. We say you, Queen. The physical sacrifice of the queen who lost a eye during the fierce campaigns, because this black woman was at the front lines of these wars and she lost the eye during these wars. But we're about to go into that. Her losing the eye during the fierce campaigns is understood within the tradition as a votive offering to the guardians of the land. In this cosmology, the region, the eye is often associated with the solar power of Ra and the protective fury of the goddess Tefnut and Sekhmet. By sacrificing a part of her own vision, a mineralist gained a heightened spiritual sight, allowing her to perceive the path toward a total restoration of sovereignty that transcended mere military victory. The culmination of this struggle was the Treaty of Samos in 21 BC. So I need y'all to write that down. I need y'all to go look into this peace treaty right here because this is what life is about. It's about this peace treaty. This is what when the separation of patriarchy and the separation of matriarchy started. Nobody is talking about this peace treaty. Nobody highlights this peace treaty. This peace treaty is a highlight of patriarchy versus matriarchy. And this peace treaty is why nobody can go beyond Antarctica. The culmination of this struggle was the Treaty of Samos in 21 BC, a document that holds profound spiritual significance in this interpretation. Unlike other nations that bowed to Rome, Kush negotiated a withdrawal of Roman forces, effectively pushing the boundary back to the north. This new border was more than a line on a map. It was the reestablished perimeter of the firmament, a restored seal that declared the sacred space of Kush impenetrable of foreign law. The withdrawal of the Roman garrisons symbolized the receding of the chaotic waters, allowing the order of the kingdom to settle once more in a state of perfection. Well, can't see that. I wonder is it anything to miss? Spiritual veil of patriarchy. I hate that they showing that slide like that because that's something we might miss that's real good, but I'll keep it moving. The sacred duty of mineralists is not depicted merely as a monarch, but as an avatar invoked to repair the rupture. Her victory effectively pushed the boundary back to the north, preserving the matriarchal refuge. The Meroe had the bronze head of Augustus, shown above, was discovered in 1910, buried specifically under the steps of a temple in Meroe. This archaeological find physically corroborates the narrative of trampling the Roman image to seal the sacred space. So these people taught us that these men was heroes and was great men, but these men warred against our Nubian mothers. In the framework of Nubian, Kemetic, Kushite literary, our Nubian mothers, cosmology, the universe functions as a unified magnetic landscape where the firmament serves as a bridge rather than a boundary. Now, why it's saying unified magnetic landscape is because the patriarchs gave us our distorted lenses of heaven and earth. The patriarchs told us that the firmament, aka heaven, is a far distance place away that you have to die to go to. But the firmament is right here above our head, people. We could look up and see the firmament. The firmament, aka heaven, is not a distant place. It's a right here, right now place that we have to wake up and attain. We have to wake up and claim. These mountains that's blocked off that nobody can ascend, our Nubian mother said that these mountains lead beyond the firmament. Our Nubian mother said that Antarctica lead beyond the firmament. And our Nubian mother said when we go into goddess temples and we enchant certain chantings, that those goddess temples open up and the firmament open up. You know, it sounds crazy, but we're gonna get all into it. The veil as unity. The final revelation identifies the barrier or veil not as a wall, but as the realization that heaven and earth are one continuous landscape. The perception of them as separate is a byproduct of the unveiling associated with patriarchal shifts. And that's what we're experiencing right now. We're experiencing a shift in consciousness. Everybody is talking about going from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness. Well, in order to go from 3D consciousness to 5D consciousness, you have to give the patriarchs back their distorted lenses. That's how we shift our reality. We shift our reality by shifting our perception of reality. Magnetic matriarchy. The queendoms represent a magnetic refuge. Matriarchy is characterized by its magnetizing force, while patriarchy is defined as demagnetizing, leading to the perceived separation of this physical and spiritual realms. Goddess firmament maps. Across cultures, figures like Nut, Isis, Tiamat, Tara, Kali, and Durga embody the firmament itself. Y'all hear that? These maps illustrate the firmament as a sacred space and a restored seal that remains impenetrable to foreign laws. Y'all hear this? So I know that y'all familiar with these goddesses, Tara, Kali, Durga, Tiamat. Well, what we don't know is that when we go in these goddess temples name, that these goddess temples is named firmament goddess temples. And inside these firmament goddess temples is maps of the firmament and showing how to ascend to the firmament. I'm real delightful to be here sharing this information with y'all. I've been wanting to share this information with y'all for some time. Let's see. In the profound Kushite cosmology of the Nile Valley, specifically within the traditions of TaSeti, the matriarchal candaces of Meroe, the land was understood as a living magnetic entity rooted in the mother energy of the earth. This magnetic resonance was navigated by the matriarchs who held the keys of magnetics, guiding the civilization towards harmony and the materialization of heaven on earth. The following paragraphs detail the unfolding of this spiritual reality. The magnetic foundation of Meroe, the civilization of Kush, from Kerma to Meroe, flourished as matrilineal societies where the Kadaki queen served as a living embodiment of the divine feminine. The very land of Nubia, situated between the Nile's cataracts, was perceived as a nexus of natural magnetic forces. The influx of foreign patriarchal power, the rise of Rome, and its subsequent expansion into Lower Nubia in the 1st century BCE brought a severe disruption to this, as foreign forces sought to dismantle the indigenous matriarchal authority. So, being that they wanted to dismantle the original matriarchal authority, what they had to do first was hide the firmament maps. The metaphysical attack on the matrix, this was not merely a physical invasion, but a metaphysical invasion aimed at the spiritual, energetic, and magnetic foundation of Kush, designed to disrupt the matriarchal order. The matriarchs as keepers of magnetics. According to local wisdom, the ancestral matriarchal wisdom knew who knew the secrets of the lands, waters, and skies, magnetic fields, was the custodians of the mother energy. Number 5, resistance through energy. Kadaki, a mineralist, a key leader of this resistance, led a 25 BC surprise attack on Roman garrisons, using her understanding of the land to fight back, capturing statues of Augustus to bury them beneath the temple. Number 6, the firmament created by matriarchal will. Faced with the disruption, the matriarchs, led by the wisdom of the Kushite elders, activated a protective firmament, a cosmic field, not a physical barrier, but a spiritual, energetic barrier that preserved the essence of the culture. Number 7, it looked like it might say the magnetic symbolism. These victorious women left behind magnetic arc symbolisms or magnetic arc symbols, often seen as curved protective structures on temple reliefs and in the layout of the pyramids of Meroe. The symbolism of the serpent's head. Many of these symbols represent the serpent as a metaphor for the Earth's magnetic currents, which were to be bruised or directed to protect the matriarchal wisdom from being conquered. Heard that. The journey beyond the firmament. The journey of the matriarchs was a spiritual one, seeking a matriarchal refuge that transcended the physical. Foreign imposed restrictions, often referred to as above or beyond the immediate damaged environment. Number 10, following the mother energy, magnetism. The path of this refuge was not linear. It was a matter of alignment or of following the mother energy, magnetism of the earth, which was in essence the return to a state of internal external harmony. So this is about following the magnetism of the earth. The magnetism is the mother energy, and the magnetism lead beyond Antarctica, it lead beyond our mountains, and it lead beyond the firmament. I can't see that. The unique Kushite tradition of using the Ba statues, bird-headed, represented the part of the soul that remained on earth, allowing the matriarchs to remain grounded while navigating higher dimensions of awareness. The heaven on earth experience, the ultimate goal of this spiritual practice was to create heaven on earth while still alive, a state of living in harmony with the environment and in particular with the matriarchal principles that govern the civilization. Matriarchy versus patriarchy. The conflict was, in essence, the struggle of a matriarchal system to maintain its integrity against the encroaching, divisive, and unnatural forces of a patriarchal conquering ideology. Number 14, the power of the Kadaki's lineage. The lineage of the Kadaki, which was passed through the female line, was the key to this resistance, ensuring the continuity of the mother energy that held the magnetic keys. We see you, great mothers. We see you, and I'm here to assist you. The use of broken symbols. I cannot read the first paragraph up there, number 15. So I'm gonna start with 16. The vast scope of the symbolism. These magnetic art symbols are found on vast numbers of sites, including the pyramid temples and in the very landscape which was designed to resonate with the Earth's own magnetic fields. Following the symbols. Following the symbols was not just a passive act, it was an act of active conscious navigating of the land's energy to ensure that to ensure the continued life of the matriarchal tradition. Number 18, the victorious women. The women were called victorious because they, although physically outnumbered, managed to secure a 21 BCE peace treaty that allowed them to retain their autonomy and resist total foreign colonial domination. Damn right they resisted it, and they never lost at war, but according to these men would tell us that they won that war. Number 19, the alive experience. The matriarchal refuge was experienced in the present moment, the now, by living in harmony with the land, not by waiting for a future reward. Like how patriarchy tell us we gotta die to go to heaven. No. The legacy of the magnetic keys. The legacy of these matriarchs' lives on in the memory. I'm sorry. The legacy of these matriarchs lives on in the memory of the land and in the symbols they left for future generations to rediscover the original balanced matriarchal wisdom. And that's what we're doing right now. We're rediscovering the matriarchal wisdom, and that's what I'm here to share with you. Um, the profound Kushite literary thought. I love how TaSeti, Kerma, and Meroe is highlighted because nobody talk about these matriarchs of Black women. These was our advanced civilizations that operated, as you can see, in states of harmony with magnetics. Magnetic anything, magnetic everything is free energy. Magnets exude free energy. So this is why the Earth is a magnetic field. That magnetic field is a battery. And if you build your home with magnetic anomalies, gold, silver, onyx, rubies, pearls, amethyst, nickel, or iron, hematite. If you build your home and society, streets, roads, with magnetic elements, like how the earth give to us for free to do, then our societies will power for free. So what patriarchy did was he came west, he built a new world order of men ruling, and he poured concrete all over this power battery, and only that way could he rule. So this is what we up against. We up against some sadistic ass men. They literally went around this whole continent of America and all these other 5 continents, and they poured mortar, asphalt, they poured concrete on what they knew to be a power generator, just so they could block the free energy of the earth and therefore charge us for when they do pull it at they certain stations. Now that right there is a cosmic crime, and that right there need to be highlighted because this is why we in these conditions that we in. We working to pay bills and rent, but if these men then pour concrete all over the power generator of the earth, then and we could power our homes off the terrain of the earth. So it's deep to think that we could go our whole lives and that we could die without seeing what's under the concrete, without seeing the earth's terrain. That's free power. Our feet supposed to be on that. Our body's supposed to be on our houses, our homes, our streets, our roads, our cars. Everything is supposed to be built with magnetic anomalies. This is why the earth given to us for free, what we call jewelry. Earth give us these things to build with. If we built our cars with magnetic elements, then there would be no such thing as car accidents or fatalities due to car crashes because magnets repel. Just like how they got magnetic sensors in cars now, how they slowly releasing that technology. And magnets, anything magnetic is indestructible. So even if it didn't repel just on the strength of it being magnetic, you could take that hit. You could take that crap. You could take, but they building fiberglass cars and they building cars that's non-magnetic. See what I'm trying to say? If we built our homes magnetic, then we wouldn't have tedious repair. We wouldn't have mold. We wouldn't have fire damage. You know how many people die from car crashes? You know how many people die from fires, home fires? Because they homes is built with inert objects, objects that's not magnetic. So if we simply just built our societies with magnetic anomalies that the earth gives to us for free, then we simply would see less fatalities, less deaths, probably no deaths if we was back in tune with nature and back on that magnetic terrain called the magnetic earth, the magnetic field of the earth. So this is why it's important to get this information on the strength of these women is not just telling us about the firmament, but these women is telling us that everything in our reality, everything in our societies is supposed to be magnetic. So even if this journey was to take a year, 2, 3 years from now, who knows? It's in the right here, right now. But even if it was to take a second, we still have the right here, right now to build magnetic. So go in your back home, get on that earth and find you that current and build you something from magnetic elements and watch your power for free. Um Kadaki Queen Mother maintained the spiritual, energetic, and magnetic harmony of the land. The cosmic order of Mayat was not merely a set of rules, but a living, resonant frequency upheld by the feminine principle. The ultimate assault upon this matrix was not merely a physical transgression, but a calculated metaphysical intervention designed to rupture the energetic link between the land and the divine feminine, aiming to uproot the matriarchal foundation. Despite, disruption of the primeval matrix, the initial phase of this assault focused on breaking the innate connection between the Kushite people and their sacred land, which was anchored by the female ancestral power. The attackers sought to replace the organic rhythmic flow of Mayat with a rigid energetic structure, thus disrupting the magnetic grid of the Nile Valley. So that's saying a lot right there. That's saying a whole lot. This is about them patriarchy attacking our men, attacking our women through the magnetic ley lines of the earth, disrupting the magnetic ley lines of the earth. Okay, I think. Yeah, already. Mm. Mm. Assault on the Kadaki principle. Kadaki was the supreme embodiment of power, transmitting sovereignty and holding the spiritual essence of the nation. The attack aimed to marginalize her authority, replacing her spiritual guardianship with patriarchal externalized control structures that favored the masculine executive role over the feminine source of power, severing the magnetic ley lines. The Kushite temples were built on lines of telluric energy. The attacks specifically targeted these locations to sever the magnetic connection between the Nile and the subterranean grid that fed the sacred feminine. So we can see in Acts 8:27 the black man selling the black woman out. Long story short, that's what that parable is all about. And when the black man sold the black woman out in Acts 8:27, because in Acts 8:27, this is the black woman's treasurer, and the treasurer is seeking Christianity, is seeking to spread the word of Christianity and looking for alliance and allegiance with Rome. And this is what we see in history with the black Cushite Phoenician men. The black Cushite Phoenician men joined allegiance and alliance with the Roman Empire to war against our Nubian mothers. And they did this because the black Cushite men knew they couldn't beat our Nubian mothers up and up. So they joined teams, alliance, allegiance. So when they joined alliance and allegiance, the first order of business was to establish a capital. This capital was named Roman Egypt. In Egypt. You can look it up right now and it's still there. Now, how in the continent, on the continent of Egypt, is it an actual place called Roman Egypt? And when you do your history and your research, you will see that Roman Egypt was built and established on the Kushite Phoenician men, giving them that permission, giving them that domain, giving them that alliance, that allegiance. But the part of the story that they hide from us is that these Kushite men joined allegiance and alliance to war against the Great Mother. Number four, imposition of alien cosmic models, the intruders sought to supplant the traditional cosmology of Kush, focused on the Sky Mother and stellar alignments with an inverted paradigm that promoted a disconnected spiritual viewpoint, dismantling the role of the high priestesses. The high priestesses was the stewards of the energetic mysteries. The attack targeted this system of leadership, aiming to silence their spiritual voice and sever the transmission of feminine wisdom of the community. That's deep. I'm sorry, I did not pay attention to if I could turn any comments on. I don't know if if y'all was trying to comment while we read, but I don't see where I could turn that on at. Nothing is coming on my screen far as comments. If anybody is trying to comment and say anything, I do apologize. At least I'm able to change these slides for y'all and read, but I do not see where we can engage at all. That's needed to so I'm clicking on some badgers here, but nothing is giving me the option to where I can see comments. I am about to transfer over to the computer here like in a week or so. I'm getting savvy, I'm getting familiar with the computer. I'm computer illiterate. I'm learning how to function these slides and YouTube through the computer. I was on there all day yesterday trying to figure it out. I'm taking courses and studies and downloading all type of things just to figure out how to operate YouTube so I can do this on the computer. I'm just computer illiterate, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm very advanced, but I'm very computer illiterate at the same time. Okay, number six. But we will be on the computer here in about a week. Give me like a week. I'm trying to figure some things out. I don't know how to use it, but it's there for me to find out. Number six, disrupting the matriarchal inheritance path. The matrilineal inheritance system ensured that power remained within the divine family line. The attack disrupted this process by imposing patrilineal systems, which detached the land from the original caretakers, which you know would be the mothers. Then number seven, we can see the inversion of symbolism. Okay. Number eight, targeting the heart of the Nile. The Nile was viewed as the energetic vein of the mother goddess. The attackers focused on polluting the spiritual essence of the Nile water to weaken the vitality of the nourishment it offered to the people. Now, the Nile Valley has also been erased out of history. I don't know what age you is, but I know in my age, I can remember growing up and often hearing stories about the Nile Valley. We don't hear those stories no more. The Nile Valley has been erased out of history, and the Nile Valley is the archive, it's the library of matriarchal information. So if you want to pull information like this to where it's mentioning magnetism and magnetics in the firmament, things that regular Google or regular patriarchal definitions is not going to tell us. All you simply have to do, say you want to know if 1,000 years was added to the timeline. All you do is you type in your search bar, was 1,000 years added to the timeline according to the Nile Valley, and watch and see what information you pull. This is how I pulled this information. Okay. Dispersing the sacred knowledge. The knowledge of the cosmic order Mayat was once shared among all. The attack sought to make this knowledge exclusive and inaccessible to the people, thereby breaking their connection to the divine. This is patriarchy for you. Assault on the kundalini of the land. The spiritual energy of Kush was thought to rise from the south TaSeti to the north. The attack was designed to interrupt this upward flow of energy, making the land receptive to a lower frequency. So that's what we in here in America. We in this low frequency. America is the lowest on the chakra system. Uh, So the earth has a chakra system as well, as you may know, and America is at the very bottom of that for a reason. So you stay easier to rule. If I got you in a magnetic state, if I got you in a magnetic environment, if I got you in the elevations of the earth, that's magnetism. That's magnetic. That's too magnetic. You're harder to control that way. I have to bring you to the lowest chakra of the earth, to the lowest dominion of the earth, which would be America. America is at the lowest of all the continents. You got Australia, you got New Zealand, you got Africa. All these continents ascend. This is why we have sea level rise. All of these continents are higher than America. They all rise. Like how a stairwell go, a staircase go. Okay, Africa would be the seventh stair, technically Antarctica, but Africa would be the seventh stair, and America would be the very first stair, with America being the least magnetic and Africa being the most magnetic because it's in the elevations. Okay. Introduction of artificial time. The traditional calendar flowed the natural cycles of the river and stars. I'm sorry. The traditional calendar followed the national cycles of the river and the stars. The attack introduced an artificial measurement of time designed to align the population with a frequency detached from the Earth's natural rhythm, targeting the sacred geometry of temples. The temples were arranged in specific geometric patterns to amplify sound and energy. The attackers either destroyed these structures or altered their orientation to disrupt the amplification of the feminine frequency. Distortion of ancestral communion. The relationship with the ancestors was crucial for the spiritual guidance of the community. The attack targeted this link, making the people reliant on external and artificial doctrines rather than internal guidance. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? The attack targeted this link, making the people reliant on external and artificial doctrines rather than internal guidance. Okay. Severing the link of the sun ra. While the Kadaki embodied the earthly material force, she was also connected to the cosmic force. The attack sought to sever this direct connection, placing mediators between the people and the divine. The use of sound frequencies, the chanting of sacred texts was a primary method for maintaining the energy of the land. The attack introduced chaotic and dissonant sounds that interfered with the harmonic vibrations of the language of the creation, disrupting the cult of the goddess. The worship of goddesses like Isis and the mother goddess of Kush was the core of the spirituality. The attack aimed to reduce the role of the goddess in the pantheon, often trying to replace her with a dominant male entity. 17. Magnetic resonance interruption. The very structure of the pyramids in Meroe was meant to generate a protective field. The attack included techniques to disrupt this protective field. Let's change this slide. To protect this protective field. The attack included techniques to disrupt the resonance of these structures, leaving the area vulnerable to energetic intrusion. The attack on the Eye of Ra. The Eye of Ra was a symbol of the protector and the active force of the goddess. Y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that? The attack. So that means that they even rebranded this. That means that they even took this. The Eye of Ra was always the Eye of Ma, but you could see that it always had a goddess affiliation to it. The attack sought to blind or disorient this force, reducing the active protection of the matriarchal order. Dispersing the people's focus, the attack aimed to create an internal fragmentation of focus that caused the people to prioritize material and superficial matters over spiritual unity. Final goal, a passive matrix. The ultimate goal was to convert the living and the vibrant matriarchal matrix into a passive and controllable field where the divine feminine is submerged under a system of external control. Well, can't read that. That sucks. The transition from the ancient matriarchal system of Kush, TaSeti, Kemet, to the patriarchal Roman structure represents a profound shift in the governance of human energy. This breakdown explores the metaphysical mechanics of that shift, focusing on the disruption of the magnetic mother principle and the original organic technologies of the Nile Valley. The Nile Valley, people. The Nile Valley is the library of matriarchal information. The metaphysical foundation of the matriarchal matrix, the magnetism of the primordial throne, and the cosmology of TaSeti and Kush. The throne was not merely a seat of political power, but a biological antenna. The matriarchal matrix, operated on the principle that the feminine biological structure acted as a grounding wire for the cosmic energy. This allowed for free energy society where the atmosphere was charged with vitality, sourced directly from the alignment of the Earth's magnetic field with the celestial womb. Do y'all hear what that's saying? That's potent. That's powerful. That's significant. I was a woman's advocate before I read that, knew that, but knowing that made me a woman advocate time 1,000. It's like, what? Wait, what did you just say? Metaphysical, all right. That's powerful. That's extremely powerful. Number two, the architecture of the living current. The structures in Meroe and Napata, please write down Napata, were not monuments for the ego. They were lithic batteries. Using specific crystalline stones, the Kushite engineers tapped into the telluric currents of the earth. These currents were seen as the flow of the mother, a constant stream of life force that powered the community without need for combustion or external fuel. That's when the church say amen. Let me stop. Okay, let me try to stay in sequence, people. Mm, Number three, it's kind of hard for me to read the header. Roman Patriarchy introduced a strictly solar centric calendar and spiritual focus, which severed, which served to sever the connection of the lunar magnetic cycles. In the original matriarchal order, the moon governed the tides of the internal waters, blood, and hormones, ensuring that the human vessel remained receptive to higher frequencies. Number four, the fragmentation of the unified field. Original Kushite texts suggest that reality was viewed as a unified fabric. The Roman metaphysical attack worked by creating categories and divisions. By labeling parts of nature as separate or external, the patriarchy broke the energetic circuit that allowed for the instantaneous manifestations of resources within the matriarchal matrix. And that's exactly what he did. He detached us from nature. He brought us in these man-made cities. He told us this was separate from this, that was separate from that. We separate from each other. You white, you black, you Puerto Rican, you Chinese. Y'all different. Y'all better than them over there. And that's how you conquer a people. You divide them first. Because if those people is at unison, and if those people is at unison with they surroundings with nature, then the very few that rule don't stand a chance. So they knew they had to detach us from nature, make nature foreign to us, and they knew they had to detach us from each other and make each other foreign to us. So when we see people that claim to be matriarchal or claim to be spiritual, but yet they pushing an immigrant policy, or they saying things that's like so patriarchal and desensitizing to where people is not people no more. Tell the immigrants to go back over there. Tell them they messing up our money, our gold, our like that's not somebody that's matriarchal at all. Number five, the suppression of the melanin etheric link. The spiritual foundation of Kemet and Nubia recognized melanin as an organic conductor capable of capturing etheric light. The patriarchal shift aimed to suppress this. You say, what, patriarch? Hold on, we're going to stay in sequence. The patriarchal shift aimed to suppress this biological function, replacing internal light harvesting with externalized religious rituals that required a middleman, thereby disconnecting the individual from the source. Number six, the anatomy of the metaphysical attack, the imposition of linear time. The matriarchal matrix functioned on spiral time, mirroring the growth patterns of the galaxy and the Nautilus shell. The Roman imposition of linear time acted as a metaphysical clamp on the human spirit, forcing the energetic body into a state of constant depletion and urgency, which disrupted the natural rhythm of healing and rejuvenation. Whew, they know how to they this was a science for them. They knew exactly what they was doing. They said we gonna make their ass weak when we conquer them. We gonna disconnect them from the magnetic ley lines, and that alone is gonna make them weak. The dismantling of I can't read the top line. I'm sorry, y'all. In the original order, the Kadakis, mothers of Kush, utilized oracle systems to communicate with the planetary intelligence. These were not predictions, but real-time data streams. The patriarchal invasion targeted these high priestesses to cut off the command center of the energetic grid. leaving the population without spiritual navigation. Number 8, the recoding of the sacred geometry, the symbols of the Ankh. The symbols of the Ankh and the symbols of the Ankh was the sculpture and the and that was the sculpture. The symbols of the Ankh was the sculpture was originally tools of vibrational resonance. The Roman influence began to recode these symbols, stripping away their functional mathematical value and tuning them into static icons. This rendered the technology of the symbols inert, stopping the flow of free energy through the social structure. Ooh, that was a lot. So if you just looking up any type of literary as far as free energy, it's definitely not gonna pop up. But if you looking up energy pertaining to free energy according to the Nile Valley, it's definitely gonna pop up. And this is how we find out who the advanced civilizations was. This is how we can put an identity to who they was. When we often hear of the advanced civilizations and societies, we don't hear who they was. It's always a period behind that. It's never a comma and a continuation series. We just hear we just hear advanced civilizations, but we don't know who they was. And it makes sense that we don't know who the advanced civilizations was because they was women. They was black women. The hijacking of the heart vortex, the matriarchal spirituality center of the heart as the primary seat of intelligence. The patriarchal attack emphasized the analytical mind over the heart vortex by shifting the focus upward and away from the heart. Okay, what number is that? 8 and 9. The patriarchal attack emphasized the analytical mind over heart vortex by shifting the focus upward and away from the heart. The magnetic pull of the community was weakened, making it easier to govern through fear rather than harmony. And that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Number 10, the geometric enclosure of the earth. The Roman architecture of the square and the arc was used to create energetic enclosures that trapped spirits within specific boundaries. Unlike the Kushite pyramids and temples, which were designed to radiate energy outward, Roman structures were designed to contain and siphon energy for the state. The disruption of free energy and abundance. I love it. I love reading titles and headers like that. The introduction of scarcity programming. The matriarchal matrix was based on the infinite mother, where resources was a natural byproduct of energetic alignment. The Roman patriarchy introduced the concept of lack by creating a metaphysical belief in limited sources that were able to implement currency systems that mirrored the siphoning of actual life force. The alteration of the mineral kingdom. Ancient Kemet utilized gold and copper not as wealth, but as superconductors. The metaphysical attack redefined these metals as objects of greed. This changed the collective resonance of the metals themselves, causing them to hold a lower vibration that no longer facilitated the movement of etheric energy. Number 13, the severing of the ancestral cord. In the original Kushite view, the ancestors was active data packets stored within the DNA. The Roman attack sought to categorize these ancestors as lost or past. What number is that? Number 10, 11, 12, 13. effectively locking the living away from their own biological library of knowledge and free energy blueprints. That's deep. Number 14, the distortion of the Neteru. The Neteru was originally understood as forces of nature or mathematical principles. The Roman influence morphosize these forces, turning them into gods with human flaws. This caused the population to seek favor from external entities rather than mastering the internal principles of the matriarchal matrix. Number 15, the calcification of the third eye. Through dietary changes and the introduction of specific environmental toxins, the patriarchal system targeted the pineal gland. In the matriarchal order, a clear pineal gland allowed for direct vision into the energetic realms. Its calcification resulted in a spiritual blindness that made the masses dependent on the Roman state. So y'all can see this physical attack and this metaphysical attack. The resurrection of the matrilineal gene. The attack aimed to overwrite the matrilineal descent, which ensured that the spiritual current remained pure. Reclaiming the matriarchal matrix involves recognizing that the energetic inheritance flows through the feminine line, connecting the current generation back to the original Kushite founders. The restoration of the sound keys. The original language of Meroic and Egyptian scripts consisted of sonic frequencies that could heal the body. The Roman word was designed to be silent and disruptive. To return to the free energy state, the resonance of these living words must be reactivated within the human vocal apparatus. Number 18, the harmonization of the two lands. The two lands represented the hemisphere of the brain and the north and south poles of the earth. The matriarchal matrix kept these in perfect equilibrium. The patriarchal attack created a tilt toward the left brain. Whoo. These damn patriarchs weren't playing. They want to be in rule. Good Lord. Balancing these poles is the key to reopening the portals of abundance. 19. The activation of the internal digit. The digit pillar was a symbol of the spinal column and the stability of the cosmic axis. The Roman attack sought to bend the digit through labor and servitude, standing tall in one's sovereignty as a metaphysical act that restores the flow of energy from the earth to the heavens. The eternal return of the mother light. Despite the Roman invasion, the matriarchal matrix remains as a Latin blueprint in the fabric of the cosmos. It cannot be destroyed, only obscured. By stripping away the layers of patriarchal conditioning, the Kushite Nubian light body is revealed, standing as an eternal testament to a society fueled by the infinite energy of the mother. So let's get these patriarchs back they patriarchal lenses. The following reconstructs the great energetic shift through the lens of Kushite and TaSeti cosmology. This narrative focuses on the preservation of the matriarchal matrix, the original frequency of the Nile Valley, against the foundational disruption of the Roman patriarchal systems. The primordial magnetic grid, the foundation of the Kushite civilization, was not built upon stone, but upon the matriarchal matrix. This was an organic free energy grid sustained by the harmonious resonance between the daughters of Nut and the magnetism of the earth. Every monument served as a conductor, pulling celestial vitality into the soil to ensure a society that functioned without scarcity. The arrival of the linear order. When the Roman Patriarchy reached the borders of the South, they brought more than legions, they brought a metaphysical dissonance. Their system relied on linear time. Let's go to the next slide. Their system relied on linear time and hierarchical control, which acted as a static interference to the circular rhythmatic flow of Kushite energy. It was an attempt to overwrite the organic magnetic signatures of the land with a rigid artificial structure. The erosion of the heart center, the patriarchal attack targeted the hadi, or the metaphysical heart of the populace, by opposing external laws and heavy taxation of the spirit. They sought to desynchronize the people from the natural pulse of the earth. Now just think about that. When we pay taxes, when we go to work, they basically just said we only do that to disturb. It's intentionally done to disturb the synchronization with our heart. And just think about that. We go to work and we do all of what we do to live out of conformity. That's one aspect. But the conformity, it really highlight that they did this to make us feel that conformity. You get it? To throw the heart chakra off. So ain't nothing like seeing a woman go to work that don't want to go to work. If you a real man, that hit you like a mountain, not like a ton of bricks. That hit you like a mountain. And when I was 9 years old, I'd have watched my mom reluctantly go to work, and that used to bother me and that used to disturb me, even at 9. So I always knew that I would seek truth and I would try to change the order of that. But I never knew that I would come into information like this at all. So it's literally saying that they expose these external laws, a heavy taxation on the spirit. That's who paying to go to sleep at night. That's who paying to drink water and eat food is the spirit. They put this tax on the spirit because they sought to desynchronize the people from the natural pulse of the mother. That's deep. This disruption was intended to turn a free energy society into a closed loop system of energetic harvesting. That's deep. Number 4, the gathering of the Kadakis. In response, the Kadaki, queen mothers, and the elders of Meroe gathered within the inner sanctums of the holy mountains. What number is this? 4. They recognized that the conflict could not be won through physical force alone, as the invaders was operating on a frequency of lower vibrational density. The defense required a shift in the very fabric of reality. Number 5, activation of the luminous firmament. Ha ha. Y'all want to get on that type of time? Okay. It's, it was time for them to show the patriarchs how great they is, to show the patriarchs why they are the manifestation of God, to show the patriarchs why they are the key holders of magnetics and magnetism. Number 5, activation of the luminous firmament. Utilizing the ancient sciences of TaSeti, the matriarchs initiated the luminous firmament. This was a projection of the collective will, or the mothers. It functioned as a high frequency envelope that surrounded the spiritual geography of the Nile, acting as a filter rather than a wall. Number 6, the resonance filter. The firmament was designed to be invisible to those operating in a state of ego dominance. To the Roman mind, the land appeared conquered, But the true Kush, but I gotta change the slide. What we on number 6? Mm. But the true Kush, the energetic reality, vibrated out of their reach. Only those whose internal frequency matched the vibration of the matriarchal matrix could perceive the higher functioning of the society. Now, when y'all watching Black Panther and y'all see her fly through the firmament and whatnot, don't it look to y'all like they really trying to highlight that those people is Kushite? We know that those people was African, obviously, but it's different type of cultures in Africa. And it's only so many cultures in Africa that was matriarchal. So in the movie is very much well so highlighted that matriarch or that those that culture was matriarchal. When they flew through that firmament in Black Panther, when they flew through the firmament, what was there waiting on them when they landed was 3 generations of matriarchs. You had Angela Bassett and the other 2 generations of matriarchs. You didn't see a man on that platform. You saw 3 generations of matriarchs right in your face. But what I'm highlighting is the the attire that they wore, the warrior gear that they wore. It seemed like it was that of Kushite, Kemetic warrior gear because it's highly highlighted that these women was warrior goddesses. And who did you see protect the throne like no other? You saw the black woman protecting the throne. That's what it was about. The black woman protecting the throne and protecting the vibranium. Okay. Number 7. The magnetism of the maternal womb. That's deep. The elders understood that the womb is the original alchemical vessel. By anchoring the firmament to the matriarchal lineage, they ensured that the secrets of free energy and cosmic travel remain protected within the DNA of the daughters. Women, this information is embedded in your DNA already. I'm just here to activate it. This created a biological vault that no external force could crack. Number 8. The heart chakra as the key. The only way to pierce this protective field was through the activation of the heart. The Romans, focused on the intellect and the sword, found themselves unable to access the living waters of the Kushite mysteries. The firmament stayed intact because the invaders lacked the specific magnetic signature of compassion and cosmic balance. And that's what I was saying earlier in the live. We got to get back to having compassion in the heart. We got to operate from the system of heart. That's the only how we'll be able to ascend here on earth. And that's the only how we'll be able to ascend beyond the firmament. So men is purposely pulling women heartstrings by causing these wars, by snatching women up at an alarming rate, by raping women, by doing these intentional things. They done on purpose to make you vibrate on a low frequency to where you stay here vibrating on that low frequency, creating reality here for them. Because you are the manifestors of reality. So they don't need you to go nowhere else. They need you to stay right here, manifesting this reality, talking about what you talking about in this reality, in this matrix. Atlanta housewives talking about trips, talking about money, keeping patriarchy alive. They need to mess your heart chakra up so you can't spiritually ascend and so that you can't manifest a greater reality. Okay. Number 9. The alchemy of the sun disk. Throughout Meroe and Napata, the sun disks atop the temples were calibrated to emit a specific golden frequency. This frequency reinforced the firmament, ensuring that the vital essence of the land remained nourished by the sun even while the external world descended into a dark age of spiritual amnesia. We gonna cover that too in the coming days. It's a lot of literary upon the spiritual amnesia that the Romans intentionally put down on us, y'all. So we got a lot of spiritual washing to do. Where we at? Number 10. Mm, Um, the royal palace became a symbol of this energetic shield. It represented the threshold between the chaotic static of the patriarchal world and the harmonious resonance of the matriarchal inner court. It taught the initiate how to remain within the world, but of the higher frequency, if that makes sense to you. Okay, we've been reading about an hour. We only got a couple more slides, y'all. Bear with me. I'm a little tired too. My bad. I told you we had a lot. Matter of fact, we've been reading for an hour and a half, y'all. So I see the people that's in here. Thank you for being in here, and please get this message to spread it because that's what we're trying to do. The dissolution of artificial time. The Roman calendar sought to fragment the natural cycles. The matriarchs centered this by maintaining the lunar Satthic alignment. That's the Sirius star, keeping the people connected to the great mother star. This alignment acted as an anchor, preventing the Kushite soul group from being swept away by the current of linear historical time. So basically saying that as long as this star system is there, then that's our record in time. That's our connection. That's our anchor. This is why the star Sirius is always talked about. It's always prevalent because this is not just our anchor, but this is our true home, people. The transition of the silent word. Communication within the firmament occurred through the Tahuti's resonance, a form of nonverbal heart-to-heart transmission. What is this, number 12? Mm-mm. While the invaders looked for the scrolls and libraries to burn, the true knowledge was hid in the vibratory field of the community, safe from any physical flame. 13, the role of the sacred breath. The elders practiced the hakul breath, a specific rhythmic breathing pattern that synchronized the lungs with the pulse of the earth. This practice kept the magnetic body charged, allowing the citizens of the matriarchal matrix to walk through the physical world while remaining anchored to the celestial realm. Kushite jury. When they say celestial realm, they talk in the firmament. When they say divine realm, they talk in the firmament. Kushite jewelry, gold, electrum, and carnelian was not for the adornment, but for biomagnetic stabilization. Biomagnetic stabilization. These minerals acted as personal anchors to the firmament because you got to be magnetic to go to the firmament. These minerals acted as personal anchors to the firmament, ensuring that the weaver's energy field remained resilient against the physical pressures of the Roman occupation. Number 15, the architecture of the vortex. The pyramids of Meroe were constructed as vortex generators. Their angles were precisely calculated to pull the firmament's energy downward, saturating the soil and the water. This made the very food and drink of the land a medicine that sustained the spiritual rebellion. Now, I want to highlight something. When we go into goddess temples, it's so right in our face and it's so surreal and it's so supernatural. We didn't know that we was this great of a people. We could see it in the movies, but we'll never identify that with self just because we have been done a number on to that level, that pedigree. Now, when you go in the goddess temple of Thor, it's secret chambers that's in these goddess temples that nobody go in, nobody talk about. You can see the pictures, you can see it say secret hidden chambers, but nobody go in these secret hidden chambers at all. When you see the archaeologists in there and you see them giving they walk through, it's always surface level. They never go into hidden chambers. Now, one thing that they do highlight, and one thing that I have seen when they go into goddess temples is water erosion. And they always be trying to figure out if it never rained there and if it never flood there, where is this water erosion coming from? And I always found it to be mighty strange that they not strange, but I always found it to be like a telltale sign of them pointing out the water erosion in the goddess temples. Because when we go in these goddess temples and we recite these Nubian languages, it's said in these Nubian languages that the waters of the firmament come down to the goddess temples and that the secret chambers hold boats and that the spiritually enlightened are supposed to get up on these boats. And what's being performed is acoustic sound levitation because what opens the goddess temples to make the waters of the heavens come down into the goddess temples is the chanting of the Meroic language, the Nubian Meroic language. This is a vibration language. That's why the other half of it is left undecoded. It takes a certain acoustic, it takes a certain vibration in the throat chakra. So if you see a lot of movies or symbolism, you see to where they go in a temple and they read from a book enchanting words and you see magic happen. You see things move around. You see things open up. That is what the Meroic language is. So it's said in the Meroic language when we go in these goddess temples and we enchant and we sing and we harmonize that these portals of these temples will open up and the waters of the firmament will come down and we will ride the waters of the firmament on the boats that's already in the goddess temples. Now when we reciting and recanting these acoustics, this language that I'm talking about, this language causes acoustic levitation, sound levitation. So while we singing, that's causing the levitation, that's causing the light vessels, the boats, that's causing these light vessels to be able to ascend because this language is so powerful that it's a that's why it's acoustic language. That's why it sound vibration. Now I know all this sound crazy, but I just had to take the time to say that because we gonna get to that and I'm gonna show that. But I think that it's unique that they talk about the water erosion in the goddess temples. They definitely talk about the water erosions. Whenever the archaeologist is in there, they be trying to figure out where does this water come from. We have no idea where this water come from. We can see that the water made it to this elevation, but we have no idea where it comes from. Okay. Number 16, the guardians of the threshold. The matriarchs appointed guardians not of gates, but of frequencies. These initiates was trained to detect dissonant vibrations. If entity approached with intent to exploit or harm the firmament, would naturally reflect their own energy back at them leading them into a state of confusion. So that sound like a merciful God. That don't sound like somebody that's burning you from fire. That sound like somebody that's repelling you, saying you're not ready. You still have a heavy heart. Okay. I think we right here. The matriarchs appointed guardians. Okay, we just read that. The preservation of the blue lotus. The blue lotus became the symbol of the activated third eye. It represented the ability to see through the Roman illusion and perceive the matriarchal matrix in its full glory. It was the plant of the firmament, allowing the spirit to rise above the mud of the material invasion. So, this pineal gland, this first eye is what I call it, but this pineal gland, it makes great sense that it will be able to look up and pierce through the veil of the firmament, that we will be able to see through the firmament. And I say that because it has been such an attack on the pineal gland to where it is now a distigital gland and don't operate in us. So why would they make sure that our pineal gland don't operate? Our pineal gland serve as a compass point, serves as a navigational route, serves as a, a eye that can see through the elements and even move the elements. So why would it be an intent attack upon that? Why don't none of our pineal glands work? And furthermore, if this gland is so magical, why are we so dormant and desensitized to it being attacked and distigital? Why is we just going along with the norms? We not our uncles and our aunties from 50, 60 years ago. When we think about the fluoride in the water, when we think about the toxins in the air, it's all to decalcify our pineal gland, people. Um, the legacy of the hidden children. The matriarchs knew the era of the patriarchy would be long. They encoded the instructions for reactivating the firmament into songs. Like what I was just saying. You see how it say reactivating the firmament into songs? So this what I was just saying. When we go into goddess temples and we sing certain songs of this melodic script, this activates the firmament, people. Oh man, I gotta get more literary on that. Um, Let me see. This is number 18. All right, should be here then. They encoded the instructions for reactivating the firmament into the songs and stories of the grandmothers. Oh my God. This oral lattice ensured that the frequency would survive in the hearts of descendants until cycle return of the light. So, it makes sense why the grandmama was always humming and singing songs, and why certain hums and certain songs made it down to certain generations all the way up to these generations. It made great sense why those oracles was always the mothers. You never heard of an oracle being a man. The return of the magnetic north. As the ages shift, the firmament is said to become more permeable to those who begin the heart centering process. The attack is losing its potency because the patriarchal battery is running out of charge, while the matriarchal matrix remains connected to the infinite source of the Great Mother. And that's what we seeing in real time. We seeing patriarchy, the battery of patriarchy running out. The final paragraph of the Kushite breakdown declares that the matriarchal free energy order never truly vanished, people. It simply shifted because our fields of perception shifted. Well, damn, that slide. is so messed up. Damn. Sorry about that. Mm, 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 mm. So I'm gonna stop there because the other slides it seems to be a bit out of sequence. Okay, that seemed to be in sequence. There we go. The higher, I can't read that top line. Lineage was Kush, matriarchal will. The firmament was made by matriarchal will. The spiritual architecture was established to preserve the purity of the internal spark against external fragmentation, to preserve matriarchal order. Here's a breakdown of the protective firmament according to the spiritual logic of the Kushite elders and the Meroic light codes. The architecture of the cosmic shield, the weaver's intent. The matriarchs of the Nile Valley recognize that the universe is sustained by the Tahuti principle of cosmic intelligence guarded by Mayat, divine balance. The firmament was the first great weaving, a resonant frequency set by the queen mothers to ensure that only those in harmony with natural law could interact with the higher realms. So I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna leave that in closing. I thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for coming in. I'ma do a little editing with this and post it because it was a little rough start with these slides being a little bit off track. But we gonna get better with this. Y'all with me through the beginning. So y'all gonna see my growth. Y'all gonna see my involvement. And I appreciate y'all for being here and taking y'all time. Matriarchs Rising. Turn that notification button on because we gonna talk about the DNA activating ships that's in the goddess temples next. We're gonna talk about so much more. We just covered the metaphysical attack. Y'all see beyond a reasonable doubt that Rome metaphysically attacked our Nubian mothers, and as a result, our Nubian mothers wield the firmament. So you just saw in real time that this is an actual factual fact. So when we sharing this with people, we can actually use the references that was referenced in the presentation from TaSeti to Kush to Kerma to Kemet. So let's use those references, people, and let's get familiar with those matriarchs. One love. In a minute, turn that notification button on. Matriarchs rising.